Welcome to Trading Lounge and the indices, and we're looking at the SPX here, and we're looking at basically wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've lifted this up to the intermediate degree. Basically I've done this because of looking at Google. Google's got a wave 4 here and now needs to move up into 5 waves to create this top here. So this is, let's just go back here a little bit from this low down here, so from this low here as 1 and 2 here, and all the way up here for wave 3 and 4 coming up here, for wave 3, 4 and 5 to the upside, so 3, 4 and then 5 up here, and then we'll have a, this is debatable of course, this 1 and 2 here. For this, I know that's a bit hard for a lot of Elliott people to get their hands on, get their head around, but that's okay. It's just something, as always, we just work through these things. Let's just have a look at these here. So there are target areas here for this. So I'm just going to drop that down into here, and we'll just look at the wave information on this here. Wave 2 was pretty spot on. We can look at wave 3, 3, 3 here, still a bit so that's okay. So we're pretty much, that's where we're sort of looking at this stage. We're looking at this. I'm just going to remove these here. I've sped my mouse up, so here we go. I've got my mouse set on 3200 dpi, which is a bit fast. So we've got wave 1 and 2 here, and we're looking for the upside here. The other thing in looking to the upside here, just before we go into it, if we have a look at the futures contracts, not this one here, this is the E-minis here, we can see that the move up here in the last 3 days, excuse the drawings on here, but the last 3 days, we can see that the volume's diminishing here. So we should expect, when it comes into these highs here, somewhere to pull back a little bit, and this will be the same for the large futures contracts as well. So we're not really seeing increased volume, even though the price is moving up. So it's heading up into these, obviously this bar here was quite severe, so it's a bit of a ping pong support and resistance game, a supply and demand game against these two here. So any sort of move up here somewhere is going to see a pullback here. So we've got a wave count to fit into that. So back to the SPX here and looking into the 15-minute chart as we normally do. So as I mentioned, I've lifted up from minor degree to intermediate degree here. So we're just going to bring in this here. So we've got our A, B and C wave here. Now, first of all, I just want to clean this trade up here. So if you've been long in the SPY and all that sort of here, then this is where we need to exit from here. There'll be one more little sort of move up here on that, but I'm going to remove this now, this trade. We're not, like I said, the chances of it just continuing to climb is not quite on there, and I'm looking at this here as 1 and 2 here, and then the third wave up to here, the fourth and the fifth, and in this little one here, the futures market would have moved on from this. Here. Let me just have a look at here. Yeah, so this is we'll come back to this one in a moment, just sorry about that. But I think the futures market has actually moved a little higher here at this point, so you can clear that out. We'll be looking for a top coming into play here for this now. So you can quite easily see here this strong third wave moving up here, so we can put the third and fourth here and the fifth here. And like I say, I think the futures market will sort of finish that off there. So and then we can look at this as wave 5 here. And then we know the volume is a little bit weak, so it kind of suits having this as a top here. This little box here is also the 61.8% mark here. So what we could expect from this point now, let's just assume for a moment we've got this as a top here. So we've got an A and a B, and it can come all the way down here, by the way, because that's the 61.8% roughly. But obviously we've got the 6,000 here, and there's plenty of support over here. So I don't know how far this is going to come down. And in a way, I don't sort of really mind, because we'll be looking to go long at the first instance, up on this B wave top here. Now this B wave top may be further down here, or, you know, it may be down here further, and maybe up. I'm not quite sure where that's going to be, but we need the top, we need the turn, and then we need to look at this ABC pattern where wherever it's going to be, it should be a zigzag, should be pretty simple, should be a 5-3-5 structure at that point. And yeah, and you know, if I'm wrong and we end up climbing up here further, a little bit further, it doesn't matter, because we're coming into this old high here, so it's going to pull back, and anything past this 5 waves by the by. So if we consider this for a moment here, this as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here, and then it comes, because after 5 waves there's going to be some sort of little pullback here. But if it pushes up again from that point, then we know that we're going to be more bullish at that point. So what you could do at that stage is you could just go long above the top there, because you've seen the drop, or you could take the B wave here. So anything after this little 5 wave move here to the upside should be good to go at that point. But obviously you don't need to overtrade, because we're coming into old highs. So this is the likely spot here for this. Now, if we're looking at, because this wave C here is rather sharp, normally the wave A is sharp and the C is on a little bit more of an angle. So when we look at corrections on the bullish side, we would look at them as a move to the upside. The A wave is normally sharp. The top of the trend normally runs out of volume, and then stops get triggered, and it's quite as sharp at that point. Then you have your B wave, and the C wave is normally more of an angle compared to the A wave. But in this case, this move down here is not the case. It's quite sharp coming down here, so that's a little bit unusual. So it doesn't really tick all the boxes, because the more of an angle the C wave is, the stronger the next move to the upside is going to be, you know, as such. And the same thing coming to the downside. So this move here, for instance, here is not really behaving. You know, it's going up on less volume. Wave 1 has got a tendency to do that, go up on less volume, start off strong, and then sort of fade, and that's why you get the sharp drop for wave 2. So yeah, but I mean, if we looked at this whole pattern here, because we're going to go long, we need to understand the bearish side at this point. We don't have a nice 5 wave structure up here. It's kind of there. In some of the other markets, it's not as strong, but I'm going to go with it for the time being. But if we looked at the whole thing as being sort of bearish for a moment, if we looked at, just bear with me a second while I just clean this up here a little bit here. So if I just clean this up here, and then just go back to the daily chart, so I don't have these sitting on there, and we'll just go back to the intermediate level here and to the daily chart. Now, because we've made a new high here on wave 1 here, if we were going to look at a bearish picture here, then the only way a bearish picture could be in place is if this 5 waves we got here is actually finished, and this wave 5 comes down here, and that's the top here, and this is actually bearish at this point. I don't think it's the case when I look at some of the other markets, but if we were talking bearish, then and looking for a top, well then this would be a top that would need to work through. So with that in mind, if we took that situation and looked at the futures market here, this is the big futures contract, looking at that wave 5 as a top there, then this would have to be wave 1 here with an ABC for wave 2. and then this move down here would also be wave 1, and then an ABC for wave 2 here. So an A and a B, and then 1 and 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third, the fourth, and the fifth here. And you know, also here as well, note the angle. So we've got in a bear market, you'd come down like this, and then the A wave would be sharp, and then the B wave, and then the C wave would be on more of an angle like that. So this is on quite the angle compared to wave A here. So in this instance here, this could be down for 1, back for 2, down for 1, back for 2 at this point, and we come down from this point. So I'm just sort of saying this because really we want to be able to work through this. We don't want any long positions up here because it's danger zone. So once this little move here finishes here, and you know, as wave 1 on the other chart, we need this ABC pattern here, and then we can go long above, you know, above this B wave here. That would be keeping it safe at that point. We'll also try to move in here and get a better position on that if that is indeed going to be the case. But because there's a bearish picture here that hasn't been negated, it could be real. So we need to just understand that, you know, it's there, and we'll just monitor it, you know. So that's the bearish side of the S&P calling a top in here, but I don't think that's the case. So we're just going to plonk that back up to here. But even once this does move up here, then this will make a wave 1 up here and a bigger wave 2. Now how far that pulls back, I don't know, but with a new administration, you know, something like this is quite possible. And also this trend here hasn't been, you know, this trend way back here hasn't been corrected for a while. So yeah, and the other point too being here is this particular top here. A lot of other Elliott folks will be looking at this as the end of the world top type thing as well. So but you know, we always go through that, but I guess one day they could be right, who knows. But anyway, our job is to first of all validate this third wave, which I cannot do just yet, but the validation will be our entry when we decide to move in on it. Okay, let's go to the NASDAQ. So now we're looking at the NASDAQ on the cash market, and the same thing applies here as well, as wave 4 here, and up for wave 1 and back for wave 2, and moving up at that point. So let's just go into the intraday, and let's just label this here while we're here. So we've got wave 1 up here with an A wave and a B wave and a C wave over here for wave 2, and then we're going up for wave 3. So we're just trying to figure this out, as we've got wave 1 here, 2 here, 5 waves up for the third wave there, the fourth wave over here, and the fifth wave moving up here. So there'll be one more little move here because this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here, but the NASDAQ futures have probably already pushed up in that space. And then we're looking for an ABC. So I'm not interested, I'm not going to look at the futures or go into any detail with this, because I want the top, I want the drop, and I want the setup here. This is where we're going to become interested. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail at that point. Like I said, if I've got this wrong and somehow it continues to sort of move up through here, it's not going to go far, and we'll be able to get it in the next session and see what it looks like at that particular point in time. But otherwise, this ABC back here, and then we'll be looking for that entry. Now also, just while we're here, when we're looking at the DAX and the FTSE and some of the other markets, it's quite possible for those other markets to because see, those other markets don't have this big ABC pattern here. So when we look at the DAX and the Dow and the FTSE, they've just come straight down from the top, so they don't really have a good B wave yet. So what they could do in their move is, because they're coming straight down from the top, is they could actually make another low below here and then go up here. Okay, so just to point that out, the difference is that the Dow Jones, the DAX and the FTSE have come straight down from the top. They don't have this nice ABC pattern here, so they're a little bit different. So just sort of bear that in mind. But let's go and have a look at the DAX. Just going to stay on the intraday here. So This move, we will look at the Dow Jones as well, but we'll do that at the end with the Nifty. But see, this move here has just come straight down through here. So I'm thinking, while this is wave one up here for the S&P and the NASDAQ, when it comes back, it could just drop down and could take these lows out here. So that's a little bit of a bit of an issue at this point. And this here, I could count this as being bullish. I could also count it as being corrective. So I just think that there's a little bit more to go here. And what it will do, it'll either have an ABC here, we'll have to call it wave one, and then go up from that point. And if that is indeed the case, then we'll look at this here, and we'll go long at that point. But in the meantime, it could also just have 5 waves down and then go up from that point. So this is what I'm not quite sure about. The FTSE has come quite high here. Markets do like to stretch out and sort of cover gaps. The 61.8% hasn't been reached yet. It's just been toying at the 21.5 here. As I mentioned, we're looking for a bit of a classic trading levels pattern here. So we've got the arrival, the reaction, and this will be the first high above the level, and then we'll have our sort of correction at that point. So we may need to turn this into wave one. I just don't have enough evidence to do that because we got that clean cut from the top, and that drop was pretty empty. So don't have a lot to go on at this point. So it would make sense for this to be an ABC at this point, but it's just something we need to work through. But we're not interested in going long on it at this point in time. So we'll see what it looks like on Thursday today. More so, I'm more interested sort of what it looks like on Friday. As such, but yeah, that's the DAX. So not a lot to do there. And then the FTSE. Okay, so the FTSE's come up quite high. The FTSE to the move to the downside. I've just got this as an A wave here, and I was looking for the B wave, and it has ran off on me here a little bit. I think we may have talked about going long in this. I can't remember. But it doesn't really matter. It's not going to go very far past these highs over here. So, if this is going to be bullish to the upside, then I'll have to look at this as wave one here with 2 here, and then 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here. That's how that would have to play out at that point. So I think that it's got, when I look at the S&P on the futures, they're just about topped already. So I don't think this has got a lot. I don't think this has got a lot in it at this point, I think it's just pretty much 1, 2 here and 3, 4, 5 and finishing here, and then coming down here. Now, if this is some sort of wave one up here, then I'll pick it up. I won't miss it, but we're not going to miss anything going into the top area here. And if you are long, then because I think we might have talked about it on 8.6 or something, but it doesn't matter. This is where we need to be over here with this. So we'll just see how this plays out, and let's look at the Aussie. We're just updating the data, just looking at license fees and things for data for the Australian market. So we're going to use the trading view for that. So we've got the futures market here, and this move to the upside here. First of all, from the top to the bottom here, we're currently at the 61.8% spot, pretty much spot on here, right? So that's sitting right on the 61.8%. If the S&P and all that's going to top out, then it's highly likely that we may get another little. I don't need to do that on this one. Here, so we may end up getting something like this here and then going up at this point. The flip side to this would be that we would need to look at this here as some sort of ABC correction and come down here like the FTSE and so on. So that would end up being an A wave up here. I could take the B wave over here, by the way, and then the C wave over here, and then we actually come down a little bit further on this one here. We end up coming, still don't need to do it, coming down to these lows here a bit further down and move to the upside. If you're long here at the moment, you'll need to exit at this point. So yeah, we're quite close. So but I can count this as 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So and wave 4 here. It's quite big, but it doesn't overlap wave 1. And then and then 5 waves up here. So I think there's one more little move to go up there. So you don't want to be involved in the market at this point, and expecting a turning here in line with the US markets. I just don't know if we're going to come down to the 61.8% and then head higher, or we're going to come down here lower. So whichever it is, we'll take the B wave top over here, or we'll be working it from down here somewhere. We'll just see how that cookie crumbles. Okay, we want to go over to the Nifty. So, in the bigger picture with all of this here, I'm looking at this here as an A and a B and a C wave down here, and then a move up to here. Our analyst Harsh has got a slightly different count, but he's still got a bullish count in here as well. I don't need that here. So we'll just move that here. In the meantime, we should still be sort of heading higher here. So it's possible to count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to here. It's also possible to have this wave 1 here and have it sitting on this top over here for this. So just be mindful that this could be wave 1 here or wave 1 over here. And it looks like I've got a couple of the same thing here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can have this as a top in here. So this could also just be wave 1 here and wave 2 here for this one here as well. Now I've counted this up here as 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third, fourth, and then there's 5 little waves in here. So I could do that, but I could also extend it a little bit higher here, because I could look at this as 1 and 2 here, and then 1 and 2 here, and 3 here, and 4 here, and that would take me to 4, 5 up here, and then have an ABC correction here, and then go up at that point. So I'm not quite sure how this is going to play out. So we could have this wave 1 sitting on top here. We can have it sitting here, and then we can also have this wave 1 here and pulling back for wave 2 here. Probably want to try to look at that gap here in that case. Or I could extend this up here further and have this wave 1 sitting up here as well for that as wave 1. So there's a couple of variations on that. If you're long here at the moment and you don't want to go through all that, well then exit. Otherwise just keep the stop out of the way at this particular point. So depending on what you've got in the market at this stage. So yeah, look, because I'm unsure, we can just put the stop here and at least not have a loss at this point. But I'll leave that up to you at that stage, and move on to the Dow Jones. So with the Dow, we've got this move up here, like very much like the DAX and so on, where we move up to this wave 1 and have that sharp drop here as wave 2. So it's just that in this little move here, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So it looks like to me that we can have this as an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave to here, and then move up at this point. We're not going to put any trades on here at the moment. Okay, but that's quite possible. So this wave 2 could be dragged over to here for that. The other count for this is, and it doesn't, if this is the count, the ABC pattern here, we'll pick it up over here. It doesn't matter, okay? But we don't need to go long into the old high here. That's the thing. If, on the other hand, on the other side of the coin, if we're going to count 5 waves up here, there's it's going to hit the top here and it's going to drop back anyway, so then we'll pick it up at that point. So if it's going to come up here and have an ABC like the other markets, we'll find support in that consolidation and then move up. Well, then we'll be we'll be moving into an impulse wave over here, building in on top of the 4-5 here, and then under, at least get one position under the 4-5 and then above the 4-5, the 45,000 rather. I haven't labeled it. I could put wave 1 here. I'm happy with wave 1 here rather than sitting over here, by the way. This one here could also be counted as B wave up here. So it's quite possible to put wave 2 over to here in this case. The interesting thing here is this is from the top to the bottom here. This is the 61.8%, and we're above that. It hasn't tested it as a tested support yet, but the fact that it's trading so far above, up at the 78.6 or whatever, is a good sign. Whichever way I look at it, I just don't see wave 4 and wave 5 yet. So you'd have to have a look on the futures for that and fill the gap in. But definitely the third wave is in here. So you could put wave 2 here or over here for this. There's a good case for both of them. But I'm just going to put it back here for the time being. So it doesn't really matter either. We need a top and we need a turn, and then we can see where the rest of the markets are, because I need to bring in some of the big tech stocks as well, because they're all following sort of Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Amazon and Meta are a couple of the strongest trends. Netflix is cruising as well, but it's at 1,000, so it's going to be finding that a little bit sticky. So Amazon and Meta are the ones you want to sort of keep a little bit of an eye on. They're the sort of normally Apple's the sort of the eye of the market, but it's at the moment that's not the case. So it seems to be Amazon and Meta sort of pushing to the upside. May have a low in for Nvidia as well, by the by. Okay, so that is that. Let's just see how this plays out. All in all. Yeah, but like I say, we don't have to do anything at this thing. We'll see what it looks like on Friday for all of the markets. Okay? Rightio, cheers.